This is a short video to explain how to edit paddocks on PastureBase. You can edit paddocks to make a number of different changes. You can edit the paddock code, the paddock name, the paddock size, walk order. In some circumstances you can delete a paddock. If not, you can do what's called excluding a paddock, and you can also put a paddock into a mob or a group of paddocks. So we'll explain each of these separately. First of all, to make changes to paddocks on your PastureBase account, you click on paddocks on the black menu on the left, and the list of your paddocks will come up, as you can see here on our sample farm. Across from the paddock you want to make the changes to, you click the edit button. And this pop-up comes up. And so it's possible to make changes. You can change the paddock code, you can change the paddock name, the mob, the area of the paddock, or the walk order that the paddock is in. If you're changing the paddock code, we do recommend that you keep the paddock codes short with numbers or letters, or perhaps a number and a letter like 2B or 3C. If you want to put a text name on paddocks, we recommend you do it here in the name column. So for example, if we decide to change paddock code 1 here in Molly's Meadow, click save. We can see that the name now linked to paddock code 1 is Molly's Meadow. When you get your grass wedge, the paddock codes print under the bars of the wedge. So if you put long codes or text words under the code column, they can be too long to fit under the bars on the grass wedge, and all the information can become very squashed and difficult to understand. So that's why we recommend to keep the codes short, and if you want the text names, put them in this column. We will take a look at a grass wedge just to show you how this works. So our most recent grass wedge on the 20th of August, we can see here that the short paddock codes, the numbers are showing under each bar on the grass wedge. On larger farms where there are a large number of paddocks, there will be a lot more bars on the grass wedge and a lot less space for long paddock codes to fit in. If you want to see the paddock codes and the names, you can roll down this screen further, or you get a full table with all the detailed information. So here we can see that our paddock code 1, and we have the names here, Molly's Meadow and so on listed. So now we'll go back to the paddocks screen. The next item that we will look at changing is the walk order. The walk order is the order the farmer will meet the paddocks as they do a grass walk. The first paddock you meet should be number 1 in the walk order. If possible, put paddocks onto PastureBase in the correct walk order from day 1. However, if you have them in the incorrect order, you can change the walk order of a paddock by clicking on Edit. Or you can also use these small up-down arrows in the walk order column. So if we click up here for paddock 2, we can see it goes up to number 4 in the walk order. Or alternatively, we can click the edit button across from paddock 2 and change the walk order by changing the number here and clicking save. So when you change the walk order to, and you're happy, you have it the way you want it, then the next time you do a cover, and when you open the new cover, the paddocks will appear in the walk order listing in a logical sequence as to how you're going to walk around all the paddocks. Make sure you remember to click save after you've made the changes. Now we will look at deleting or excluding paddocks. If you have a paddock you want to change, you can only delete a paddock entirely if there is no data linked to that paddock. So there must be no covers, no grazings, no fertiliser applications, soil tests or any other data linked to the paddock. If you find you want to change a paddock and it's not possible to delete it, you can do what's called excluding the paddock. This could be used, for example, if you have a large paddock and you decide to split it into two smaller paddocks. So to do this, you would exclude the large paddock and add two new paddocks in the smaller sizes. To work through an example here, our paddock code 1 is 2 hectares. Let's say, for example, we're going to split it into two smaller paddocks of 1 hectare each. So to do that, first of all, we will exclude this paddock. So we will click Edit on the paddock. Then on the drop down for actions, we click this little down arrow, click Exclude this paddock, and it's now gone off our list. So now we want to add two new smaller paddocks. So we will call them codes 1A, and we'll call it Molly's Meadow Top maybe. It's just 1 hectare. And then we'll add the second new paddock. So we will call it 1B. And Molly's Meadow Bottom. And it's also 1 hectare. And we'll say it's number 2 in our walk order. Save. So now you can see we now have, instead of paddock 1, we have 1A and 1B, each of 1 hectare, and we've left their names linked to them. It is possible to see excluded paddocks. They are not gone entirely, they're saved in the background on PastureBase. If you want to see a listing of all your paddocks, including those that you have excluded, how you do this is use the filters function. So it's here at the top right of your screen. You click on Show Filters. Click on Show Excluded Paddocks and Apply Filter. And you can see now that we bring back in, just to see it on the screen, paddock code 1, and we can see it is currently excluded and was excluded on today's date. In the future, if you ever decided to take down the fence between the two smaller paddocks, you can reintroduce the larger paddock which you have excluded at present. So that explains how to delete and exclude paddocks and also how to use the filter. You should watch out for this filter function as it is used in other areas of PastureBase. You can see it in the fertilizer area and also in the grazed cut silage area, where it enables you to filter out information, perhaps for a particular date range or for a particular type of fertilizer, or you might want to look at just silage cuttings or some particular segment of information. So it is quite useful. Now the last thing we're going to look at is about mobs. On your paddock screen you will see a column to the right called mob. And what it means is a mob is a group of paddocks or a subgroup of paddocks on your farm. So on our farm at present, all our paddocks are assigned to mob 1. But it is possible to put some of them into a separate mob. Mobs is really a system to track a specific group of animals around a group of paddocks on your farm. Samples of where it might be used: on a dairy farm, mob 1 might be for the main group of dairy cows and the paddocks they're grazing. And then you might have a second mob of paddocks where the replacement heifers are grazing. Mobs can also be used on dairy farms that are using robots to good effect. Mobs can also be used on other types of farms. On sheep farms, there may be different groups of sheep grazing different areas of the farm, and those areas of the farm can be split into different mobs, and similarly on a beef farm. So it's very important to remember that to use a mob system, firstly, you must assign the paddocks concerned to the different mobs. So to show you an example, on our farm here, we are going to put the last 4 paddocks, 7, 8, 9 and 10, to a second mob, mob 2. It is also possible to have a third and fourth mob if you wish. So to change the paddocks to a different mob, across from each paddock we click the Edit button, we change on the drop down for mob, we change it to mob 2, save and next. The next one, mob 2, save and next. Third one, mob 2, save and next. And the last of our paddocks, mob 2, save. So now we have set up the second mob of paddocks on our farm. The next thing we need to learn how to do is how to assign stock to that section of paddocks. How you do that is through a cover. After you've entered the cover, when you come to the livestock screen, that's where you can assign the stock to another mob on the paddock. So again, we'll just work through a short example to show you that. To do that, we need to put on a quick sample cover for today's date. So we will just put on a quick cover. We won't worry too much about the figures we were putting in. So we have our new cover in now, and we click Save and move to Livestock. We just missed one. Now we have it in. Save and move to Livestock. So you can see at the moment we have 25 spring milkers and we have 24 calves 0 to 6 months. And we have all those stock assigned in this column. We can see at the moment they're all assigned to mob 1. But now we have created the second mob of the second batch of 4 paddocks on our farm, and they're mob 2. So we're going to assign the calves, the 0 to 6 month calves, to mob 2. So to do this, we click on the down arrow here, and they're gone to mob 2. Now we click Save and move to Wedge. And this brings up the grass wedge for our full farm. It is also possible to see a grass wedge for an individual mob on the farm. To do this, we look at this mob button underneath the grass wedge. So at the moment our wedge is for all mobs. If we want to see a grass wedge for mob 1, we pick mob 1 from the drop down and we wait a minute and it switches over and just shows us the grass wedge for mob 1. Similarly, we can do for mob 2. And it switches over and we can see our 4 paddocks that we set into mob 2, and that's the grass wedge for them. Paddocks can be moved to different mobs at different times, and livestock can be moved to different mobs also. It's important to remember that. And it is also important to remember that if you set up mobs today, you can only allocate stock to those mobs on covers from today and for dates going forwards. It can't be something that you work in the reverse. So that explains mobs or groups of paddocks on the farm.